Hey, we're back. Episode 2. That's pretty
bourbon?
great. Yes, go ahead.
All right, this week's vintage has a flower on it.
Okay. Can't talk about it because.
Can't talk about it.
What's the proof?
40% alcohol by volume. That's what, 80 proof?
Not 110.
Certainly not as much as last week, but
Should get
this
one.
is a good one.
Yeah, it is a good one. It's a nice. Ooh. Hey, easy there. Ooh.
All right, how many fingers of bourbon do you want?
2 for me.
All right.
That'd be great. Ooh. Easy there. Ooh. Ah. Nice. We're going to be talking about some really cool science stuff today.
Yeah, I'm excited.
This is where things are going to get super fun because we're talking about other people's research now.
I know.
Yeah. So for those of you who are just now listening in, the first episode, my wife, Dr. Rose here, who is the co-host, we went into her research, Birds and Bourbon. Highly recommend that show. You get to learn a lot about female birdsong.
This week, we're going to talk about color.
Yes.
What is it? How does it work? And does your memory mess it up?
Yes. Yeah, something like that. Really, the question is, if I can, pull it up here for a second. Sorry. The question, the title of this episode is, if a tree falls in a dark room, ... So, you've heard the old saying, if a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound?
Well, the real question is, if it falls in a dark room, does it have any color?
Ooh, that sounds pretty spooky, actually. You kind of think of it just like something in a dark room. Does it have color? I mean, you'd think it does. Like, very first off your brain, you're like, that's got color. But I guess people are going to have to stick around to see the answer to that.
Yeah, stick around to find out. And if you've been enjoying this content, you can find us on social media. Please like and share and share with your friends on social media.
Definitely like, share, follow, comment. We are trying to get this out to as many people as we possibly can. Especially, go ahead.
We've already had some great comments from people on social media.
Awesome comments. Like, we weren't even expecting to get so much feedback, but we really did get some good feedback. And you can find our episode kind of anywhere. We're right now working on getting things on iTunes or Apple Podcasts.
Apple Podcasts.
That's it. And they do kind of a review process there, so it's going to take a little bit of time, but we're working on that. So maybe by the time this comes out, it'll be up there. But we're also on Spotify, iHeartRadio. Is that right?
iHeartRadio, Pandora,
YouTube, everywhere.
TuneIn, which is Amazon Echo.
Right,
YouTube.
and you can just go to I'llTakeMyScienceNeat.podbean.com, and you're going to go right to our site, and our podcast is right there for you to download. So that site's going to be updated. The more and more we come out with episodes, we're going to have it has a schedule there. You can see kind of what's coming up, little hints for people. And then you can also become a patron there, which is a really big deal. That's how we are funded currently. So we don't have really any sort of, revenue from this. We're just doing this in our spare time to bring you awesome science that's unbiased, unpolitical, and is filter-free.
Absolutely. So if you go to the website and click Become a Patron, you'll get an extra 30 minutes of content every week, and you'll also get an extra full episode every month. And that helps us spend the time to look up new articles and start sharing with you some of this bias-free science. Yeah,
it takes quite a bit of time. We have to dig through articles. We have to come up with the skits, like what we're going to talk about. But yeah, if you become a patron, you get double the content, more than double, because you get an extra episode, which is 30 to 45-minute episode. So you get an extra episode every week called Coffee Break. It's where we kind of break in the middle of an episode. We go get coffee. We talk about, whatever on our mind and other topic. And then we actually have a special episode every month for patrons. And we're also, going to be maybe putting some videos up there every so often of some things that we're working on. I know one of the things I talked about was possibly making some, what's the panels called? Sound panels? Yeah, soundproofing panels.
We might also be making some furniture for the studio,
right.
So that's a potential feature
video. Because I also, jack of all trades here, I do woodworking on the side. So, with that,
Stay tuned for more. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more science.
Well, I was kind of hoping you would give, like, the name of the episode.
Oh.
Yeah, that. Okay, ready. 1, 2, 3.
We'll be right back for more I'll Take My Science Neat.
All right, see you guys in a second.
All right, welcome back to the episode. I am one of your co-hosts, Dr. Rose, and...
Oh, yeah, me. I'm Ron Rose.
And
you're in control.
We are the co-hosts of I'll Take My Science Neat. Before we get on to our cool science today, we're going to play a little game.
Oh, no.
I know, we love games on this show,
Oh,
and
no.
this one is called Learning Academia.
Oh, God. Wait.
So we know...
Is this something I have to do?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
So we know that scientists, right, we're in this thing called academia, but everyday people might not have the inside scoop on how things work.
So you're asking me?
So
I don't
you're going
work
to
in
have to
academia.
take a test.
Oh.
All right, are you ready? It's multiple choice this time.
Okay. Well, multiple choice. Hey, it's C.
You have to wait for the question.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All right.
All right. Let me prepare. All right. Okay, I'm ready.
All right. That was a
do
lot
it.
of prep.
Sorry.
Question number 1.
Okay, 1.
You are average Joe,
That's me.
and you heard an interesting topic, and you want to know more.
Okay.
Do you A, Google it, B, ask a smart person, or C, look up an article on Web of Science, Google Scholar, or PubMed?
Ooh. Okay. Okay. Well, okay. Ask a smart person. I like to think that the average person is smart enough. So I'm going to say that's a no. Okay. Google would have been a good answer, but you gave another answer, which was C.
It was C.
It was C.
You
That
cheated.
had Google Scholar in there. I'm thinking that one is correct. So what was that?
All right, you're correct. You should look up a published article on Web of Science,
Web of Science. Okay.
Google Scholar, or PubMed.
Okay.
So Google Scholar is my personal favorite. You just Google Scholar.
Okay.
It takes you to another website, and you Google, like, why do trees grow? And it brings up published scientific articles about it.
And everyone has access to that, right?
Everyone.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone knows what Google is.
I hope.
So they just got to know the word scholar.
Yep.
Ooh.
That's the one.
I don't think that's hard.
Web of Science is a little more difficult. It requires filters, but open access. And PubMed is just for medical research. So
Okay,
if you're
so
looking for medical stuff, go to PubMed, not Google Scholar.
All right. So if I'm wanting to learn maybe like what the benefits of intermittent fasting is.
Yeah.
You know, PubMed is where I'd want to go.
PubMed's where you want to go. Some of that stuff
right.
might be on Google Scholar, but you'll have more hits on PubMed.
Interesting. Okay, cool. All right. I feel like, did I get it right?
You did.
All right.
So far, you're 1 for 1. All right, you ready?
The telepathy, really good, guys.
The audience has it going for you today.
Yeah, they're with
All
me
right,
today.
question 2.
Okay.
You are looking for articles online.
Far and wide.
Which do you trust the most? A popular science article, a paper published in a peer-reviewed journal, or a paper published somewhere that's not peer-reviewed?
Ooh, okay. Well, I mean, just going off of what this show is about, I'm gonna say that we probably want something that's been reviewed. You know, we like things that are reviewed. That is good science. You know, and then also we like free science, which is science that is unbiased, unpolitical, unfiltered. Which a lot of your popular science sites, you're nodding, so I think I'm on the right track. Have a lot of that filtered stuff. So I'm gonna go with the peer reviewed.
Absolutely. So there are journals that are peer-reviewed, and most of them are, and there are places you can publish that aren't peer-reviewed. And in the peer review process, you submit a paper to a journal and say, hey, I did this science and I want to publish it in your journal.
Right.
And they send it off to a panel of expert scientists, and they go through it with a fine-tooth comb.
Jedi Council, but for that specific paper.
Absolutely. Was your sample size large enough? Did you use the most recent and good methods? did the questions and the assumptions you made at the end of the paper make sense with what your results were? Do your results match results found in science in general, or are you making big jumps that aren't actually in your data? And they also look at, did you cite everyone you were supposed to? So if you're trying to write a paper and you're like, oh, I know there's this paper that exists that says the opposite of what I want to say, so I just won't cite it. I won't bring it up. And that peer-reviewed counsel should catch that and say, you have to at least admit that there's papers that found the opposite of what you're finding. Because that's good science. We want to see all of the science that was. And so when you see a peer-reviewed journal, you know you're getting something that's been through a committee of other scientists.
So peer-reviewed, that's the best kind of science you can get, right? You have a paper that's been peer-reviewed by many people, and it's gone back and forth. They have maybe reviewed it and said, hey, your stats model here, the math doesn't seem to add up. We need you to bring a model that is, it adds up, makes sense. It's your checks and balances, if you will.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So very important. Okay. All right. Peer review. Definitely important.
All right, you're acing this test so far.
I'm doing great, guys. You're doing awesome.
There's only one question left.
Guys, we can do this.
All right. You find a paper online that is exactly about what you wanted to know. But you only have access to the abstract. You only have access to a 1-paragraph summary.
Oh, I hate that. It's like a tease. Like when you go to Amazon, they're like, oh, we'll give you only 1 page to read. And it's like, why don't you give me like 10 so then I know what's going on in the, book. But anyway.
Right. All right. So what do? Here are your choices.
Okay.
You can A, cry and assume you'll never know what that paper is about. You can B, pretend like you know everything about the paper from the first paragraph.
Yeah, I know this stuff. Psh, pish posh.
Or C, try to email the corresponding author and ask them for a copy of the PDF.
Oh, that actually sounds pretty good. I mean, you'd think like if you were going to ask someone a question or maybe, find out about something, you might go to the source. The actual person that created that, the author. So like if I had a question in a paper, or even if I just wanted to read said paper, I didn't have access to it. You're saying that I could contact that author, say, hey, I really think your abstract is cool. Could you send me that paper? Because I really want to read it. And I want to, learn. I want to be more knowledgeable, especially about the topic that you're talking about here. What do you think the response would be?
I mean, not every scientist is the same. But when people email me for my PDFs, I send it to them. I get so excited when people care about the work that I put all my time into. I've never turned down a request for a PDF.
Okay, so I'm taking this down right now because I just, if I ever want to make you happy, I just know that I can just send you an email asking you for your paper.
You are married to me. You already have all the PDFs.
Dang it, that's not going to work. So wait, do I get like a sticker? Do I get a big 100%? Is there a bonus question? Can I get extra credit?
All right, here. I didn't have one, but I made one up because that's what we do in academia. We do things on the fly sometimes. All right, here's your bonus question.
All right, bonus.
Can you name the 5 things that we care about when talking about papers on this podcast?
5 things. Okay. So I would say the biggest thing that like this whole thing is based off of, right, is we made this podcast because media is doing a big disservice to science. Let's just be honest. Let's be really bluntly honest here. Okay? You go to any mainstream media source, they talk about some science, they give you a little graph. You don't know who did the graph a lot of times. So you're just kind of like trusting them. So my first thing is citing the authors, the people that actually did the research, people that like, have been there in the lab for years studying the stuff, getting the sample size together. I'd say that would be one of the first things.
Yeah. All right, you got 1 out of 5.
One out of 5.
We care about who the authors were, and we want to thank them for their work.
I would say, so authors and citing those authors, I would say where to find their paper.
Like what journal it's published in.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do we care about that journal?
Well, is it a good journal? I mean, if it's in the tabloids, I don't want to,
Right. We care about where do you find it, what journal was it published in, and was it peer reviewed? Is that a journal that is peer reviewing?
Is it well respected, and do they put out reviewed stuff? Because there are journals out there that just will publish anything.
There are. Actually, I was in a journal club at work, and there was a paper that came out that named the genes. I can't even remember, but it was like Pikachu. They just like put random words in gene sequences to see if the journal would review it, and they didn't. And they got this paper published with all this fake stuff as a joke article. One of my colleagues sent it to me. It was so funny.
That's amazing.
Maybe during our coffee break, I'll look up what that paper was, and we'll talk more about it.
Guys, now you gotta stay. You gotta become a patron, okay? And we will go over that.
Yeah, it was so funny.
Awesome. Okay, so wait, do we do 3? So
that was 2.
Author, okay.
Journal and authors.
Journal, author, citations, peer reviewed. I know you mentioned that earlier, but it's obviously that's important, right?
I'm lumping that in with journal.
Doesn't count. Okay. I'm sorry. Guys, I was trying to get a free one there. Is this an open notes test?
No.
Oh no. Oh.
Guys, if he looks at the notes for the episode, he's cheating.
Okay, I'm not. I'm thinking.
And you can't ask the cat either.
We had an amazing comment.
Yeah, we did.
On our social media.
Yeah.
The person asked, I want to know where the funding is from.
So that's going to be something we care about on this podcast. As often as we can, we are going to tell you who's funding the research we talk about.
Yeah. I was thinking the other day, I was like, I like that movie Austin Powers. I don't know if you've ever seen it. You've seen it probably, right? You haven't? Oh, guys.
I grew up under a rock. I'm sorry.
It's okay. But he's like, my name is Dr. Evil. Now, I'm just going to be honest here, guys. If there was someone named Dr. Evil who had funded some research, I'd just kind of, maybe want to question that. Just
or
a little bit.
If my research was funded by Birds Are People Too, and I came out with a study that said bird brains are just like people brains, and they're just as smart as us and talk just like us, and they're people too, you might be like, I'm suspicious that you were
really
paid
suspicious
to
of
say
that. Yeah.
But instead, actually, full disclosure, because I didn't say my funding source last week, and I should have, I was funded by the Maryland Ornithological People
Very
Society.
Good people.
I was on the next sentence in my head already. The Maryland Ornithological Society, they're a bunch of people in Maryland who really like birds, and they raise money every year to fund research.
Very
they're
awesome
a great
people.
organization.
Yeah. So that is a big one, the funding, right? Okay, so is that that's
all right,
5?
You have 3 out of 5.
Dang it! I tried to get it, guys.
You don't get your bonus point unless you get all 5.
Oh man. Could really make a big difference to everything. So I think the next thing that we're gonna talk about on the show, Simba, what is it?
No, the cat doesn't know.
The findings.
The findings, right? That's important. You need
Simba,
to know
good job.
what the paper actually found. What did they do, and what did they find at the end?
Yeah, that's super important, right? Like, what? Why are we even talking about the paper if we don't want to get to the findings? That's the juicy bits.
That's the juicy bits.
You don't go and open a book and you go, all right, I'm going to read Twilight. That one where the guy sparkles and he's like pretending to be a vampire. It's just really wearing glitter the whole time. Yeah, that book. You don't pick up that book, pay $20 only to be like, you know what? I don't want to read the end. I don't want to know what happens to Bella and Edward and if they sparkle on together for the rest of eternity.
Guys, he knows the names of the main characters.
I've read the book.
Judge him harshly.
I was part of that crowd. I worked at the movie theater when that movie came out.
Oh, you poor man.
I did. It was. My best friend can tell you about it. It was rough. It was rough because it was busy.
Yeah.
Just a ton of estrogen everywhere.
All right.
So much.
Sir, you've gotten off track. You have one more.
Oh, no.
You were trying to divert from the fact that you are one answer short of a bonus point.
All right, let's think here. Let's think. Okay. I know. Okay, so So the author is important. Where to find things. Okay. The funding. What is it? Wait. Okay. I think I got an idea.
Okay.
How old
Ding,
is
ding,
the
ding.
paper? Oh, yes.
All right. If you were reading a paper and the date says 1950, you might want to find a paper with more updated results. If you are reading a paper and note, I guess in the future, we recorded this in 2021. If it says 2020, you can be pretty sure.
That
was beautiful.
Sorry. Thank you.
Are we going to get in trouble for singing somebody else's
for
music?
Just humming a thing? Come on. Everyone loves that movie.
Yeah. So pay attention to the age of the study that you're looking at.
It's incredibly important.
Yeah. Because if it's a new study, if it's a 2020, 2019, you're like, okay, this is something people are paying attention to recently, and these are updated results. If it's 1950 and later in this episode, we're going to talk about a paper from 1965. It's a really cool paper, but it's not necessarily the most updated paper. And you want to pay attention to, do recent things agree with old things? Do they disagree? Are the methods different? Because we've learned a lot in the last 50 years.
Right. And technology, which is my expertise, I love technology, has evolved. So we have tons of technology that we didn't have 20 years ago. I mean, we literally carry a computer in our pockets. You could almost say we're a little bit Star Trek-y now.
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
All right. So this has been Learning Academia. Thank you for joining us. If you have any questions or want any more insider secrets about academia, please let us know in the comments. We love to respond to your comments and incorporate the information that you want to know into our episodes. But now we need to get on to today's cool science.
Well, and also I need to know if I got a sticker.
You got 125%. So you get a big star sticker with a smiley face.
Woohoo!
I think he just scared all the cats. They're gone.
They're fine. Simba just cheered too. He's clapping.
Clapping his little paws together.
He's such a cutie. Let me get a swig of the bourbon real quick before we, start the next part. Okay. So I asked a really spooky question earlier. Or we talked about a spooky question. I'm sorry. I want to kind of play off that a little bit. So let's start with the kind of concept of if a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound, right? Like that's that old question that we were talking about.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
A little philosophical.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's interesting. It's philosophical. Lots of people argue about it, I suppose.
Yeah.
But the question is, if no one is there to hear it, does it make a sound?
Right.
But really, we know sound is just movement of air as it hits our ears. And so the air would still move. It's just that no one would hear it.
No one hear it, yeah. So now let's ask the other question here. What about if something is in a dark room, like a tree? Just picture a box, it's a dark room, pitch black. And that black paint, that's like the blackest paint possible.
Oh, yeah.
It's so dark that like it like almost absorbs light. Picture a room that is completely closed out from outside anything, painted in that, okay? And then there's a tree in the middle of that room. Does it have color?
So I would say no. But
really?
First, we need to talk about what color is.
Yeah, I think it's really important because in order to understand the research that we're going to talk about later in this episode, so you're definitely going to have to stick around for that, you need to understand how we actually see color. And researching this is actually quite interesting.
Yeah. So what's really cool about color, unlike sound, which is a wave through the air, and there's always air in the forest, color is actually a wave of light. And so if you think about like the waves in the ocean, those are beautiful sound effects.
Thanks.
So if a wave is really tall, that's what we call amplitude.
A tsunami. I mean, no, amplitude.
Right, amplitude. And if the waves are coming in really fast or really slow, that's what we call wavelength. So waves that are coming in like crash, 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 that's a short wavelength. There's a short distance between the waves. If they're just a slow, lazy crashing, like crash,
Like
crash.
calming.
That, yeah, like the waves you listen to fall asleep at night.
There's like maybe like some like crickets chirping.
Right. So that's
You know.
a long wavelength.
Right.
And so if we think of color as ocean waves of light, when we have long wavelengths and high numbers, that's towards the red end of the spectrum. And when we have short wavelengths and low numbers, that's towards the purple end of the spectrum.
Oh, I guess I like shortwaves then.
And so all of these colors just have to do with how fast the waves are crashing in.
Right.
And so if you think about a room that has no light, there can be no color. The other half of color is the person who sees it. If there's no receptor, like it will still have color, but no one will detect it. And how do we detect color?
Some deep science today.
Yeah. I think this is a fascinating topic. So when light comes into a space,
right,
it bounces off objects.
Right.
You can think of those waves crashing into rocks or crashing into an iceberg or something. And they change direction, and
just like sound, just it'll bounce off, it'll echo.
Right.
Right.
And so some objects absorb some light and other light bounces off. The light that bounces off is the light we see. And so if you see an object that's red, you see a guy in a red t-shirt.
Yeah.
That t-shirt is bouncing off the long wavelength, the red light, and it's absorbing some of the other lights, say green lights, blue light, purple light. Those shorter wavelengths will be absorbed. And so the only light that bounces off and makes it back to your eye is the red light.
So basically, like, light puts off all colors.
If it's a white light, yeah.
If it's a white light. And if you can picture a white light, you know, like a star. If I just I know like stars probably put off different colors, but like a white star that we twinkle, twinkle, little star, you know, like little white stars up there. If I just reached up, grabbed one, came and put it in my room, and it was a white star in my room, that is all the colors together in that star. It produces all the wavelengths.
Yeah. I mean, you could use a light bulb instead of burning your house down and going blind.
I mean, but stars are so cool.
They're pretty.
Okay. All right. So I use a light bulb or a star bulb. Anyway, so it puts out white light, and depending on what color clothes I have, just really means that the clothes absorb that light differently.
Yeah, and when you have black clothes on, they're pretty much absorbing all the colors of light, so you're not getting any light reflected back.
Wow, so much absorption. Gosh.
Yeah, that's why it gets hot.
Yeah. Oh. Wow.
Did you just get learnt?
Yeah, my star light bulb just went on. Dink. That's awesome. Okay, so, I just got learnt on this show.
So the light bounces off an object and it comes back to your eye. And in the back of your eyeball, there's something called the retina.
Right.
Okay, so some of you may have heard of that, some of you may not, but it's the organ that has all the receptors that detect light. And those receptors are called rods and cones.
Okay.
And the cones are little light receptors. They detect light, and they are cued in for color. And you can remember that cones starts with a C and color starts with a C. So whenever you're having a conversation and need to sound really smart, that's your memory trigger.
Cone.
Right. And so the cones are geared into red, green, blue, just like a printer.
Oh, okay.
So if you you ask your printer, hey, I want you to print this picture that's mostly blue. It'll send out mostly blue ink, and it might send out a little green. And if there's a purpley part, it'll send out blue and red. And your eye does the same thing. So if light is bouncing off your red t-shirt, my cones that are triggered into red light will do a lot of nerve firing and send that information to my brain.
Very quickly.
And the blue and the green, not so much. They won't trigger for that object. And so that's how your brain says, oh, haha, I'm looking at an object and all my red cones are firing. That's a red object.
Wow.
And remember I said there's another thing called rods?
Yeah.
They're not really related to color, but I love talking about rods because they're like our are black and white vision, basically. And they detect like shades of gray, and they're more active in dim light. So if you think about like it's 2 a.m. and you have to pee and you're tiptoeing to the bathroom,
I hate that.
It's the worst. Nothing really has that much color. Maybe
and it's
a little
cold.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like on just a rainy, dreary day, you look at that tree in your front yard and you're like, man, yesterday it was sunny and that tree was so pretty. Those leaves were this beautiful green. And today it just kind of looks lame. Like it's just gray and bleh. And that's because your cones are doing less work because there's less light, and your rods are picking up the slack to help you see, but they're not giving you the color definition.
Wow. Huh. I guess that's why they always have like sad movies with that like less light and more like fog and gray, because it just kind of stimulates that,
Meh.
It's a rainy, dreary day.
Rainy. But then for some reason they do all the romantic scenes in the rain.
I love you. Da, 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 da,
yeah. You'd think those would be happy. You'd think you'd be like frolicking through the sun, but it's always like, babe, it's raining. Let's be in love.
And I'll forget you by the end of the film. Oh, too soon.
Awkward. Yeah. So color is this really fascinating thing. And we're going to talk a lot more about how it works in our brains.
Right. So, okay, I do have to ask the question, though. Okay. Because we're talking about, like, how we all see, but could we all see different?
Yeah, we definitely could all see different.
Because I have laser eyes.
You do. You got LASIK surgery.
Yeah.
Jealous.
So, no, I actually shoot lasers out of my eyes.
Well, you're also Superman. So
No. But I had LASIK. And, so do I see different than you do? And I do know that people, like, there are colorblind people out there.
Right. So the LASIK shouldn't have affected your color vision. That just changed the shape
lens
of your lens, which is the front of your eyeball.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you're right. We do have colorblind people. And like my dad and my brother are both colorblind. And so these people might have some of their cones that are not working properly, or they have fewer of them. And so they're like red-green colorblind. That's the most common kind. And that's when you aren't able to differentiate red from green. So your red and green cones are not working properly.
Oh, okay.
My dad always said, my mom has these incredible gardens in her front yard. And he was always like, please plant yellow flowers because I can see them. And that's what brings me the most joy, is flowers I can actually tell what color they are. So we had a lot of yellow flowers in the front yard, but it was really pretty. So yeah, and even just not colorblind, we don't really know if we see color differently. We do know that different cultures have different numbers of words to describe color, so we can only assume that they're categorizing colors differently. So we have like red, orange, green, blue, yellow. I did those in the wrong order.
I don't think anyone's going to call you out on it.
and then we also have things like teal, and we start to have other things like lime green, olive green, but that's still in the green category. And we have words like pink, brown, black, white. And in other cultures, they have more or less categories. So we think that maybe different cultures, that there's some sort of cultural level of teaching our children how to categorize colors.
Oh.
Because when you're born, you don't look at a red shirt and say red. You look at a red shirt and you process the color and you have no word for it. And so we have to teach our kids how we lump colors. And the other thing is that color has no discrete boundaries. So when we talk about wavelength,
right,
it's continuous. I can't get my measuring tape out and say, this is exactly 3 millimeters and 450 nanometer wavelength. We can't do that. I mean, we can do that scientifically with like a spectrophotometer, something that measures light wavelength.
Ooh.
But when you're looking at a red shirt, you can't say, ooh, that's right on the border of what I think is red and what I think is orange. But I can tell with my eyeballs exactly what wavelength it is. You can't do it.
I can. I have that power.
And so
it's the worst superhero power ever.
We have a friend, I won't name him on stream, but He and I have this ongoing disagreement about things that are kind of orange, kind of yellow, like signs and cars. And every time one of us is like, no, it's orange. And the other one is, no, it's yellow. And we're sticking to our guns.
Well, I'm going to be honest. Every single couple, who gets married know exactly what we're going through right now. Okay. We're picking out curtains. Hey, babe, I like these. They're purple. No, sweetie, those are blue. Excuse me? No, these are purple. Blue.
Yeah, well, we more have the problem of, excuse me, you can't hang purple curtains in a blue room.
It doesn't contrast very well. Okay, I need to see the colors better.
I need more colors. I want red and yellow and blue everywhere.
Yeah, red and green everywhere.
But
it's Christmas all the time.
My poor dad would never be able to tell the difference.
Okay, so we're gonna take a break, right?
Yeah.
And then when we get back, we're gonna talk about this really cool research paper that dives into this even more, and obviously cite this really cool research we're about to talk about.
So if you want to learn more about how your memory affects your color vision, stay tuned.
Hey everybody, welcome back from the break. I'm Ron Rose, and before you do anything else, make sure you do a like, a subscribe, and tune into our podcast every week, releasing on Fridays. Also, look into our Patreon program where you get an extra episode every week that goes into some science and behind the scenes. And you're also going to get one extra episode a month, so be sure to look into that. All right, back to the show. Hey, Ron, thanks for giving us that wonderful ad there. Yeah, everyone who's listening right now, please, make sure at some point during this to go check out the Patreon program that we have up. You can go to I'llTakeMyScienceNeat.podbean.com. There is literally a button there that says Become a Patron. Click on that. You'll get to see a nice video that we took going into what we support, which is free science, which is unbiased, unpolitical, unfiltered science that we're going to give to you. Because everyone else is failing at it so badly, not citing any research, which we're going to do. But before we get to this really awesome research, babe, are you ready?
I'm ready.
You ready, Freddie?
I'm super ready, Freddie.
If your name was Freddie, you are super ready. It's time for breaking news. That's right. We're bringing you breaking news for the week of March 1st. So, beginning of March. So, some really cool things happened this week. You might have seen some of this news. Just to go into a little bit about this segment, breaking news is about the news that you're kind of going to hear. You pay attention, even just like a little bit. But if you come here and you listen to it, it's a lot funnier.
It's always funnier here.
You said it's so dry. I don't know if I'm funny. I'm having a crisis. What if she doesn't think I'm funny? It's like that meme where it's like, I wonder what he's thinking right now. She thinks I'm not funny. Okay, so breaking news. Boof. We're right back at it. Okay, so some really cool happened this week. Did you see it? I know I just showed it to you. I showed it to you. SpaceX had a Starship prototype test, and it was awesome. It was so cool. So the Starship passed testing beautifully and landed upright. Okay, and if you guys get a chance, go and look up the video of it landing. You can see the thrusters. It looks like it's CGI from a movie. It's amazing, and it's so cool. It's so cool. I can't do it justice. I wish I could show it to you, but you really gotta go check it out. However. Spoiler alert. I know it's like maybe a 10-second video that's out there, but it did land, and then after a little bit, it did unfortunately blow up.
This is number 2 in like 2 months for Elon, right? Blowing up Starship?
Yeah, I mean, okay, look. How many ships did we blow up before we got to space?
I mean, you and I didn't blow up any.
So far,
we're doing great.
I mean, you know what? It was because the research papers that they used, they were really old, like from the 1700s, I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, It did unfortunately blow up because there was a gas leak. But either way, I mean, it went up. It did an altitude test, came back down, landed vertical, and it was beautiful. One of the coolest things I've seen. I mean, we've seen a lot of cool stuff so far from SpaceX. Elon, you're getting there. You're getting really close, buddy. And SpaceX, from NASA to you guys are doing awesome. I know we're working together. We're team. It's kind of like it's like Goku and Vegeta. You know what I mean? But I like to think that NASA is more of like the Vegeta.
So you hate SpaceX with a fiery passion?
Excuse me?
I mean,
No,
have you
what?
seen Dragon Ball Z?
What? Yeah, I have. Vegeta's awesome.
Yeah, but he hates Goku.
I'm the Prince of all Saiyans.
This is a nerd reference most people will not get.
You don't know that.
Nerds.
Whatever. Anyway, they're basically like the brothers, and then it's like that one picture you see where like they're fist bumping. Yeah, that's NASA and SpaceX. It's really cool.
Good one.
Anyway, also SpaceX news. We've got a lot of space stuff, happening right now, which is super exciting because I've been saying for a very long time that we only got one planet. We kind of get it up there to other things because anyway.
That was articulate.
It's I'm very articulate. The SpaceX Falcon 9 went up, and it launched another 60 Starlink satellites. Woo! We're getting more internet, guys. It's awesome.
That's pretty exciting.
It's super exciting.
The tests for Starlink so far have been really good. The rates and everything.
Right. There was a really good video. So my nerdy friends, technology, we haven't talked about any really big technology papers yet, or just any articles yet. But, I watched some things. There's a really good YouTube series out there called Linus Tech Tips, and he kind of went into it a little bit. So it's really good. Anyway. So that happened. There's more. There's 60 more satellites up in space. It was launched from NASA's Kennedy Space Center. Hey, see, I told you we're like buddies. Yeah, what's up, brother? That's what we're like. Anyway, so Starlink's great because it's gonna bring high speed internet to rural areas. And I know your parents. They just moved out to like a farm in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
They can't wait. It's really hard to get good satellite internet right now, and there's like no providers, so keep it up, Elon. I think you're doing some great stuff. In other news, space news, there was a meteor, and this is a really cool video, if you get a chance to see it, that probably went viral, and you might have seen it already, of a meteor that was captured on a doorbell camera.
I did not see that. That is pretty cool.
Isn't that cool? So, like, it was captured on like some other dash cams, but I thought that was amazing. We have doorbells, like I don't know, Ring or whatever.
Yeah.
That captured a flaming fireball coming across the sky. It's like, whoa. It's like, hey, babe, you're gonna want to see this. Like, that's awesome.
Where was it? Was that in the States?
In the UK.
In the UK?
Yeah,
Nice.
so go and check out that video. I don't have a link for it because, I mean, it's everywhere. So just go search, UK doorbell catches fireball meteor, and you'll probably get it. And of course, everyone knows that we're on Mars right now.
Yeah, that's not really March 1st news, but it's cool news.
Well, no, what is March 1st news is that right now the rover Perseverance, such a cool name, is sending panoramic images of the rusty planet now. So you are able to put up these images, put your VR headset on if you got one, and just look around 360 style.
That is super
Super
cool.
cool. I mean, before it might be like, you get like some grainy filtered kind of stuff, but now we're getting like high def stuff. Super cool. So you can go and check those out, see more of the rusty planet. Super awesome stuff. I do know that that's a lot of space news, here. But I do want to mention this real quick. Okay. So if you're listening right now, okay, I need you to stop. Just stop. Okay. I'm stopped, Ron. Right. You're stopped right now. Okay. I need you to hit like. I need you to hit subscribe. I need you to follow us, okay? Share and comment. What I want you to comment, right, is if you're really, really interested in all this stuff, I want you to comment if you would want us to do an episode on the Perseverance rover. Because, like I told you, I work at NASA.
That'd be a pretty fun episode.
And I can give you some really cool, insight. What the kind of culture is like to have something that big happen. Now, I will, full disclosure, I'm not part of JPL, so I wasn't there when it all happened. But even then, it affects all of us, and it was very cool. It was very cool, even being remote. So if you want to hear stuff like that, if you want us to do an episode on perseverance, you want to comment. Give us a comment. I will do this for you. Spoiler alert, it's super cool cat atmosphere at NASA. It's jazzy, classy, and out of this world. So anyway, lots of space news this week, but I do have some Earth stuff, okay? So one big Earth thing that's happening right now is there's a lot of earthquakes happening.
I did hear about that, yeah.
Yeah. There was an 8.1 magnitude earthquake off of the coast of New Zealand.
That's big.
So big that they got a tsunami warning.
Oof.
Yeah. Okay. So hopefully everyone's okay. Hopefully nothing happened. I just, if you're hearing this and you ever get like a tsunami warning, I don't want anyone out there riding the waves, okay? And I'm talking to you, Keanu Science Bro. Oh, man, not cool, brother. Bummer. And that's this week for Breaking Science News.
All right. Wow, that was a lot of news. And
Lots of stuff happening.
While we bring unbiased science, we clearly have a bias for space.
But no, there's just a lot of cool space. I mean, I could go on and on. And that's what I mean. Like, if you comment and let us know if you want us to do a Perseverance rover episode, I would be more than happy to dive in deep with that science because it's awesome.
Yeah. There's a lot of really cool stuff going on with SpaceX and NASA and the rovers on Mars. So definitely something to keep in mind as you look in the news for the future.
Okay. So back to color.
Psychedelic, bro.
Psychedelic. Awesome. Gnarly, brother. Keanu, come on, man. You're killing vibes. Oh, sorry, bro.
All right, before we jump into the papers that we're going to talk about today, and I do want to cite the papers and tell everyone about them. But first, I want to just go back a little bit to, like, what is color? So we talked about what is it, but we haven't really talked about why is it? Why do we see color? What's the point? Because not all the animals can see color. Some animals only see 2 colors. We see 3. There's other animals like birds can see ultraviolet and, mantis shrimp. And so why do humans see 3 colors? And there's a couple different prevailing theories in the literature. One of which is that trichromatic vision, like a tricycle, 3, was really important for foraging in the wild. So if you're trying to find a red apple on a green tree and you can't tell red from green, that's going to be really hard. It's going to take you a long time to find your food. But if you can see red versus green, you can start finding apples way quicker and spend less energy looking for food.
Stand out.
So that's one theory, that it has to do with foraging. Another theory is that it might have to do with social interactions. And if we can tell, like, if there's something wrong with your face, like, when you get scared and your face, like all the blood drains from your face, right? It's the wrong color. Or if you get sunburned, it's the wrong color.
Yeah.
And so we might be able to have some sort of facial interaction with color. And so there's a lot of theories, but it's really hard to prove these things.
What if you're hungover from this episode?
I mean, we've been drinking a lot of bourbon, so we might be.
I need a top off, actually.
Oh, well, hand it over. Yeah.
You can hand it over to me. Oh,
absolutely.
You're
gonna. It's far across. Well, I got the bottle.
I'm reaching.
Uh-oh. All right, guys, you
That's
got another cork sound. Okay. Let's see if I do as well as I did during the intro.
Yeah. Ooh. Oh yeah. Where's that music at?
Oh,
I'll just sing for you.
All right, here you go. All right.
Give
Can you
me
reach
that
it now?
bourbon.
All right.
Oh yeah. I need this.
Okay.
Such a beautiful sound.
Recorked.
Okay.
so
That should be an episode right there.
All right. So I want to talk about some really cool studies that look at how our memory of what objects are supposed to be affects how we see color.
Right. So I know that an apple is red, or at least some apples, right? And I also know that strawberries are red.
Right. So before we get into it, let's cite it. I want people to know what they're actually listening to.
Yeah.
So this comes from, and I'm sorry, we want to thank scientists, but pronouncing names, not always the easiest. I feel like substitute teachers will side with me here.
Yeah.
All right. So this comes from Hassan Tash et al. 2019. So this is a recent paper, 2019.
Oh, yeah.
The authors are Miriam Hassantash, Rosa Lafer Souza, Arash Afraz, and Bevel R. Conway.
Thank you so much for doing this research.
We really appreciate it. And this was published in the Journal of Nature Communications.
Is that it? So I just want to know, is that that's pretty big, right?
That's a pretty high tier
That's
journal.
Big.
I would love to publish in Nature Communications.
Awesome.
And it is peer reviewed. And we want you guys to know.
The Jedi Council reviewed them.
Yeah. And we want you to know this was funded by Intramural Research Program of the National Eye Institute, the National Institute of Mental Health, and by the National Science Foundation and the National Institute of Health, and by, I messed it up, and by viewers like you. Thank you. I haven't watched PBS in so long, but I was just reading the whole list, and I was like, oh, man, it's like the PBS list.
That's awesome.
So there you go, guys.
It's not really funded by you, at least. Wait,
but we could be if you join our Patreon program.
Oh, yeah, we could be if you funded us. That'd be great.
That's
Please.
A shameless plug. Okay,
it's our second chap. So
you and I read this paper together.
Yes,
we've been talking about it.
Very cool.
So, do you want to summarize it, or do you want me to?
I'll let you.
Okay.
Because I'm more of a technology guru. This is your. I'm like peanut butter. This is your jam.
That was good. All right. So this is a cool study. So they used what's called sodium light. So sodium burns yellow. It's only yellow. It's the only color it produces. And it's called what's monochromatic, only one color.
Hey, yellow. Your dad can see that.
Yeah.
All right.
So these are monochromatic lights. So they put people in a room where there's only yellow light. And like we talked earlier, you have to have a color of light for it to reflect off an object.
Okay.
So if you have a white light that has the whole rainbow in it, and it bounces off a blue blanket, and the blue comes back to your eye, you can see blue. But if there is no blue, when the light gets to the blanket, it'll either be absorbed as the yellow will be gone, and it'll just look gray, or the yellow will bounce back, and you'll see it as yellow.
Okay. So if there's pushing light, right, and it does not have any sort of color, it's going to produce whatever that light is.
Right.
Okay, cool. So
yeah.
In this case, it was
yellow. Right. And so their theory was that objects, that our memory might affect what color we see objects. So even though there is only yellow light, if we showed you a strawberry and you know it's supposed to be red, maybe you'll see it as redder than it actually is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or, they mostly did this with red objects. And so they showed them a bunch of different objects, some of them that were supposed to be red or a specific color, and some of them that weren't. And then they also showed them a bunch of faces of different, black, white, Asian, a bunch of races. And they were predicting that things like strawberries would look redder, that people would identify them as redder than they actually were. And so they had these people color match. So they said, okay, here's a bunch of swatches of color. Pick one that matches the object that you're seeing.
Okay, so if I'm that person, they do the color, right? Mm-hmm. And they have it there, and I see the object. I basically point to what color I see?
Yeah.
Okay. So if it was, I know we said yellow before, but if it was blue, I'd point to blue.
Right.
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And if you see it as red, you point to red.
So so their hypothesis was something like, we know that strawberries are red, so they're going to probably say red.
Right. And it's not just like they had red, blue, yellow, green. They had 50 shades of red, 50 shades of orange, 50 shades of yellow. They had
a lot.
There were a lot of choices. And then they also assumed the faces also would be yellow. Would they look yellow because there's only yellow light? That's what we predict.
Right.
And if you remember, what they found was totally crazy. Things like the strawberry or normal object balls, things like that, they all were yellow. Every single person said yellow.
Wow.
And different shades depending on how much yellow was absorbed or reflected, but yellow every single time.
So if you can imagine suddenly seeing a basketball, it's yellow. A strawberry, yellow. That would freak me out.
And so I'm not an expert 100% in how this works, but the quote from the paper They used monochromatic low-pressure sodium lights because such lighting causes a profound failure of color constancy and only variations in lightness can be perceived. So the people actually said, I don't see any color. But then when they pointed to a color that matched, it was always yellow.
Whoa, that's crazy, brother.
Yeah. And so basically everything was yellow. Except, okay, here's where it gets really, really crazy. The faces. Yeah, we're in the Twilight Zone now. The faces, it didn't matter what race, white, black, anything. They were all green.
Green?
Yeah.
Are we all aliens?
We're all aliens. Dun, dun, dun.
But you told me.
Yeah. So what their theory is at the end of the paper, when they go through their discussion, is that all people have sort of a reddish tinge to their skin. Some people more or less, but we all
definitely more me.
Definitely more me
Scottish
also.
and Irish
We're both
in me.
red. But everybody has blood vessels under the skin.
Mm-hmm.
And when we are sick or scared or, there's a couple different conditions that can do this.
Right.
People say, oh, the blood drained from her face. When you're sick, you lose all that blood in your face. When you're scared, all that blood drains from your face. Not literally, but, you turn whiter or greener or something.
Yep.
And so because these people didn't have any red reflecting, they predicted that the brains of the participants were actually seeing them as sick, saying, oh, there's no red. And so they look sick to me, and sick is green.
Oh, wow.
They say like, oh, they turned green with puke or whatever. I've never looked at someone's face and been like, wow, you look green.
Yeah.
But I guess that is how, like, a light green, that's how we process that.
Is it like green as gills or something to do with like fish and gills? And
I don't know that one.
I don't know either. I'm making stuff up.
There's like green with envy, but that's not real green.
maybe that's what I'm thinking.
But no, it's like when people turn sick, you're like, oh, you look green.
Yeah.
But I never took that as literal until this study where they said, oh, they actually, and they have this color chart on as one of the graphs, and they're like neon lime green. Wow. And of course, the people didn't actually see them as neon lime green because the light like blocks their ability to see color.
Right.
They're sort of seeing them as like a weird, not yellowish, but like weird color.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, like, wow. So this kind of like questioned, do all people see with like memory? And, like if I think something is red and I remember that and I see it under those conditions, like I'm going to see red.
Yeah. So this study found that with normal objects, memory didn't affect color vision.
Wow. That's crazy.
But in science, not every study finds the same thing, especially if we're using different methods.
And that's why we need lots of science.
Right. And so I want to talk about a second study while we're on the topic of memory and color.
Ooh.
This one's older. So I teased at the beginning of the episode that we're going to look at an old paper. This one's from 1965.
Oh, that's a great year.
Yeah. I actually made a joke. My mom is also a researcher, and I made a joke of like, oh, 1965, no funding, huh? Because this one doesn't have a funding source listed. And she was like, I wasn't doing science then. And I was like, sure. But, she was way too young in 1965. Because she's only, she would tell you, she's 39 now. That's the official.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's either 39 or 29. She's a time traveler.
She can't claim 29 anymore because we're all older than that. But when your kids...
think I am.
No, I mean, when all your kids are older than you, you've got a time paradox problem.
Oh.
But anyway... So this one's from 1965. It's written by John Delk and Samuel Philibom. And I actually found this paper. I was reading another paper, which I do not have time to talk about because it was like 50 pages and very long. But they did a summary of this paper, and I was able to go look up the PDF of this paper. And it was published in the American Journal of Psychology, which is another really good peer-reviewed journal.
Wow. All right.
And so this one was fun. This was kind of like... kindergarten craft project. I really liked. I could totally get behind this study. So what they did,
better use like the scissors that were safe.
They did like the ones that give you like zigzag patterns when you cut around. Yeah. So what they did was they cut shapes out of orange construction paper. So some of the shapes were just shapes: square, circle, triangle. Okay. Some of the shapes were typically red objects. So like I try not to get the objects from the two studies confused, but I think this one did like lips, strawberries, hearts. So things that, when you look at them, you think that's supposed to be red.
Red.
So, and not apples, because those could be green, but
Right.
specifically things that are only red. And then they put them on a screen they like taped them on there or whatever. And the screen could change colors. And so unlike the last study where the participants couldn't see any color, they like had their color receptors blocked. This one, they had full light. They were just able to see.
Oh.
But then on the background, they said, hey, they don't tell the participants that they're all cut from the same sheet of construction paper. So they're all exactly the same color. And they say, hey, the screen that it's on can be more yellow or more red. You just have to turn this knob. It's on, on a dial.
Okay. Red, yellow.
Yeah.
Got it.
And just turn the knob until you think the background matches the shape.
Okay.
Right. And so they predicted that the shapes that should be more red, that the participants would pick a redder color.
Oh, okay.
And that's exactly what they found.
Wow.
Right. So with like lips, strawberries, hearts, they picked a shade of orange that was redder than the construction paper, and they thought that matched across all the participants. But for things like square, circle, triangle, they picked a shade that was exactly the same shade as the construction paper.
I just looked up the funding. It's Bob Ross.
Oh, no. There are no
Happy
accidents.
little trees. There's no accidents.
Yeah.
Happy little accidents.
Yeah, I wish they had
That's
listed
cool.
funding. Anyway, so
that's okay. I mean, but we know that's older. So did the first paper, it built off that, right?
So this paper is
not
older.
really?
So I don't know. I don't think they cited this paper. I
Okay.
found a citation to this paper in a totally different other paper that was like way.
But it's very cool that you found something that's similar,
right,
and very like older, and they had a different way of doing the study,
right,
and you can almost kind of see like, okay, they probably didn't have like the technology that we do now, and you can see that maybe the first paper had a little bit better of a method because they just didn't have something that could be as precise.
right. But the question is, different methods can get at different questions, and what is a better method? So in the first paper we talked about, the 2019 paper,
Right.
they blocked out the participants' ability to see color.
Uh-huh.
So it wasn't really like, what color do you see? Because they couldn't see any color. But they were getting at, like, does your memory bias how you, like, identify things? And so they got it a similar question, but I really feel like this old study, sometimes, like, simple is good. And
Yeah,
I feel
keep
like
it
this
simple,
old
stupid.
study, keep it simple, stupid. And I really feel like this old study got at the idea of, like, a lot of optical illusions. So this long paper that we're not talking about was about optical illusions.
Uh-huh.
And
Maybe some other time.
yeah, or maybe we'll do a coffee break about it.
Yeah, we do have coffee
You just
break.
never know. I'm just
Maybe.
teasing a
Yeah,
bunch of stuff.
teasing.
I don't even know what we're doing in coffee break this
Well,
week.
we're gonna do the fake paper.
We're gonna do the fake paper, but
Yeah.
that might not take the whole time. We might have
so
time to talk
again,
about some other things.
join and become a patron. It's $5, guys. You can give $5
We're
in your
shamelessly
month
plugging this week.
to hear about this really cool paper that literally tricked a journal that just didn't review the paper like they should have.
That's why
Yeah.
reviewing is important.
Reviewing
But
is important.
But I really do feel like this older paper had this really simple method and made a really good point that, like, when we see two things next to each other, our expectation changes reality. And so that's how some optical illusions work. Most optical illusions work by, like, diverting your eye focus.
Right.
But some of it really is like our brain just doesn't process right because our memories are integral to our sensory systems. And so I just thought this was a really cool finding. I thought it was fun to talk about. And so the punchline is we don't all see color the same. Our social and life experiences affect maybe how we see color, according to this 1965 study.
It needs to be researched more.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I agree. It needs to be researched more. I feel like that's going to be the punchline of every episode is that there's so much to learn.
Yeah.
But this is a really cool topic. And, don't ever assume that when your friend thinks a car is yellow and you think it's orange so that they're pulling your leg.
Right.
It really is. We could be seeing things differently.
So if you like this episode where we basically dove into how the eye sees color, how color happens, answer the question of, if it's a pitch black room and there's no light in there and the tree is in the middle of the room, it doesn't produce a color because there's no light. There's your answer right there. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe, follow, share, like, comment. Let me know about that Perseverance rover. If you want me to do an episode with my wife here about it, try to get us out as much as possible because we're going to continue to do all this awesome stuff. We're going to drink bourbon and other neat drinks while we, give you some neat science. Neat science being pure, which is unbiased, unfiltered, unpolitical science right at you from the source, the author, which you can get on Google Scholar, their paper, if you look it up. Guys, a lot of knowledge today.
All right. If anyone ever asks you how you like your science, tell them you want it neat.
I want it neat. I'll take my science neat.
See you next week.
See you guys next week, or for those that are patrons, in our coffee break. See ya.